Welcome to the first episode of Becoming a Man, where we talk about the journey of a man from his adolescent years into adulthood and what that experience is like. From career to relationships to, just going after your dreams and your purpose and all of those experiences, whether there's ups or downs. And today, I have my first guest. This brother, if you don't know who he is, he's been in commercials. He's also had the opportunity to be in a couple of films. One of them actually won an Oscar as well. He's been in Hollywood. In just a few moments, we'll talk about how he ended up, getting an agent from some of his creativity. He's a content creator as well. He's done a lot of things. He's traveled. He's lived outside of the state of Virginia, and I want to get a little deeper, no homo, you know what I'm saying, and talk a little bit more about Zeus's life and his just overall journey. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome Mr. Top Rope Zeus to the show, bro.
Hey, thank you, brother. That was a good intro, man.
Good. Hey man, I
That was,
try to do a little research
you've
on
been
you.
practicing.
Yeah.
You've been
You
practicing.
know
That's
what I'm
really
saying?
good.
Yeah, thank you,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, yeah.
So, where do we begin, man? How you doing these days, brother?
These days I'm doing well. I'm doing well. These days I'm trying to keep myself as uncomfortable as possible.
Hmm.
Uncomfortable as possible, you know.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, like when I say uncomfortable, I'm a content creator. I started out in 2012 on the internet and started a show, a dating relationship show called Hump Day Romance, where basically I gave my perspective on relationship and dating topics, some from my past and some just in, the world of what I observed. And then a lot of those episodes went off into sketches and more, illustrative things. So that's what I do. I my style of creativity is funny but true. It's always a message weaved in there. And one thing I love is the world, my like my tribe, the people that really love my content, they understand me. They understand that cleverness, that thing there. So I started doing that in 2012 with a production company I was a part of called Visually Inclined.
Okay.
And you know, you of course, you was one of the first people to get me into content creation because in college at Norfolk State University, the Norfolk State, I needed an internship my senior year, and you brought me over there with Viz Inc. where you was at, and you had me doing voiceovers at first, and then that turned into, hey, Zeus, we want to start doing our original content. And I said, okay, well, I really didn't know what to do because I didn't have a purpose there yet. I didn't know how to edit. I didn't know how to shoot. So I said, well, let me just start writing some stuff. And then we came up with that. And he was like, y'all was like, okay, I like the idea. And then from there, we started off on 2012 on YouTube. By maybe like 4 or 5 months of being on YouTube, I was being asked to be a partner with YouTube.
Yeah. So let me stop you right there. But let's go back a couple years before all of that even transpired. Tell me a little bit about like just like your upbringing, your childhood. Your parents and things like that. Talk a little bit about like how you grew up.
Oh, my Ninja Turtle origin story.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, I'm from Norfolk, Virginia, and I was raised by a single mother. My biological father, he was kind of had to leave early on, so I had my mom there, and we grew up in a two-bedroom apartment, one bathroom, sometimes with like 8 other people, type of thing, and it was beautiful because I had a mom who loved me to death. She later on married, and I got a stepdad who I revere as my dad, but yeah,
You got brothers and sisters?
I do. I have two sisters on my mother's side. One passed away, God rest her soul, and she was the one that actually really got me into comedy. My sister Elenita, um, and so I went to Norview. So shout out to Norview. You always got to rep your sector in Norfolk. And yeah, I went to Norview Elementary, and then I later became interested in music in middle and high school. So in high school, I became drum major. I got on the drum line, became drum major, and then that's how I got a scholarship to go to Norfolk State University.
Okay, good. So you talked a little bit about you're raised by a single mother. Basically, your biological father, because you said your mom eventually remarried. And I mean, what was it like growing up, not being around your biological father? I mean, do you know who he is, or like how did that story unfold to, finding out who your biological father is?
Um, I I didn't know. I didn't realize. It's gonna sound wild. I didn't realize I didn't have a father until I was maybe around like 10 years old or something like that. Like I didn't realize I didn't have one. And the reason I say that, and I mean biological father, I never questioned like where is he at. My mother never really talked about him at all. And I was watching an episode on like Fresh Prince. Y'all know the episode where Will's father came back. And Will was like, Daddy, where you been? You know what I'm saying?
He went off, right?
Will went off.
Mhm.
Man, Will said something to me in Virginia because I got off my little 15-inch TV, cut that thing off. I went straight to my mama's room. And I was like, Mom, where is he? She was like, who? My father. And she was like, and it's like, she was like, oh, I got to have that conversation with you. I'm like,
And you were how old?
I was about like maybe like 10 years old. So that's a long time to know that you ain't had no father like that. So when she said, okay, she had one picture of him that she showed me of him holding me when I was like just born, the day I was born. And then after that, I never saw another picture. And she found him when I was in 5th grade. I came home, I walked in the house and she said, hey, Zeus, there's somebody on the phone for you. I was like, who? She was like, your dad. No, she didn't say my dad. She was like, somebody's on the phone for you. So I get on the phone and I'm like, hello. And I hear this voice that sounds like not like anything I've heard. And he was like, hello, this is Jesus, your father. And I'm like, I hung up. Cause I was like, man, who you got on this phone playing on my phone, man? Come on, man, what we doing here? And then called back and ended up being him. So anyway, we had like a 20-minute, 15-minute conversation. And he said, asked me how I was doing in school. And he said, I'm gonna call you back.
So the accent that you just
Yeah, my father's Puerto Rican. I'm Puerto Rican. My father's name is Jesus Manuel, so I have his name except last
so
name.
you not full black, you like
No, my mother is African American. My father is Puerto Rican. Um, Hispanics actually come from the African diaspora, so Hispanics are actually technically, if you were to go back to the lineage, we all are black.
I wonder how many people actually know that about you.
When I had hair, they knew it because I had like the slick guala guala. I had like
Yeah.
my stuff was perm. I had the La Vito Hot Pepper Lopez. But once that lineup went to where it didn't need to go, it just kept heading back east.
You had to let it go.
I had to let it go because it let me go. So when that happened, it became a little bit more difficult. And then I didn't speak Spanish at the time because after that, after I spoke to my father when I was in 5th grade, I never spoke to him again until I was like in my 20s. And that's when I actually met him. I was pledging for my fraternity at the time, and I was getting ready to be done. And I got a call one night, and it was a woman that I never spoke to. And I got on the phone, and she says, hello, my name is such and such, and I'm your aunt. And I'm like, really? She said, yeah, I want you to come out to Las Vegas to meet me. And I was like, okay. She's like, I'm your dad's sister. So
Oh,
my
okay.
mother had reached out
Okay.
and somehow found them because she found them one time when I was younger. But what happened was she called my aunt and got on the phone when I was younger. And my aunt thought that she was trying to get child support from my dad. And so she lied and was like, he doesn't live here. And, later on, my aunt apologized for that because in hindsight, she was just trying to protect her brother. She didn't really know what was going on type of thing. But, we worked that out, we worked that out. So fast forward, I'm 21, 22. I go out to Las Vegas to meet my aunt. When I get there, it's everybody in the family there.
Like a reunion.
Yeah, like, you remember Antoine Fisher?
Yeah, yeah.
And it was like the scene in Antoine Fisher where all the family members was like there except Spanish. And except we wasn't in a home with beautiful food, we was in a casino with smoke and money and stuff like that. So when I got there, not only was my aunt there, my cousins was there, my Uncle Eddie was there, my abuela was there, and my father was there, who I didn't even know he was going to be there. No one said anything. So it was kind of overwhelming to meet all these people for the first time. But when I say they were the sweetest,
You went there by yourself?
no, I actually took my mom and my dad.
Okay.
They came with me for moral support. It was like, yeah, let's go out there.
That's good, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that
yeah,
was really,
yeah.
really
Okay.
dope. And when we walked in the casino to go find where, my aunt was at, there was this guy that walked past me. And I looked at him, and he looked at me, and we walked past. And then when I found my aunt, I saw him, I was visiting with them, and 2 minutes later, that same guy walked back up. It was my cousin. We walked past each other, grilled each other and everything, didn't even know, you know, his mom is my aunt and my dad is his uncle. So it was definitely an interesting experience, especially to have when you older because I gave up. Like I didn't really think I was ever gonna meet my family. I was just like, yo, that's just something that's never gonna happen. So I'm just gonna get that thought out of my head.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Cool. In the midst of all of that and having that opportunity to finally meet your biological father, prior to all of that, was it ever challenging growing up after figuring out like, hey, I don't have a dad around, think about it, you like you said you was in a band, you in high school, you're involved and stuff like that, but your mom's always there. Was there any thought about like, dad, my dad ain't around or you was good or what?
I went through cycles. When I was a kid, I was like, why? See, the hard part about it was I'm in this black family, this black community, but I'm the weirdo a little bit because in school I got teased for my Spanish culture. My name is Jesus. The kids used to call me Jesus, which now is like some dope fly, fly type shit. But it's like in school, it's like, nah, you're getting teased. Matter of fact, it was like the movie He Got Game. Jesus Shuttlesworth, Jesus Shuttlesworth. I ain't play basketball like Jesus Shuttlesworth, so I was just Jesus. You know what I'm saying? So when I hated the first day of school because teachers would call my name, you know what they call the name,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking, you're a teacher. This is what I'm thinking in fifth grade. You're a teacher, so you're educated. So you should know the difference between Jesus and Jesus because that's like the Michael of English. You know what I'm saying? Nope. I guess my teachers got their degree from DeVry or something because they used to always say Jesus, and I'm just like, it's Jesus. Oh, really? Yes, it's Jesus, ma'am. So anyway, I got teased for that, and so I kind of felt like an outcast a little bit because I'm like I'm a part of a culture that I don't know, and I don't have anybody on that side of the family that I'm associated with. So it's kind of like I didn't know a piece of myself for a very long time.
Did your mother ever explain to you that other half, meaning, at any point where she's like, Zeus, you're half black, you're half Hispanic? Was that? Did y'all ever have that kind of conversation?
No, my mom didn't really know much about that culture, the Hispanic culture. She didn't really know much about it, you know.
She ever explained to you like what happened between you and your pops?
Later, much later, she used to basically what happened was like a lot of Hispanic, and it's like not just Hispanics, a lot of our grandfathers, dads, things like that. My father had a problem with the bottle, and his father passed that down to him, liquor and cigarettes. So alcohol and cigarettes has kind of been like the downfall of that side of the family. So with my father, he drank so much. So my mom, he would couldn't keep a job because he would do the drinking. And then when you're drinking, you're not aware of what you're doing. So he's not a violent man, but he would get a little rough sometimes, and that comes from his father. I didn't understand these things because I'd never been around him to even know him as such. But my mother was like, she tried to make it work with him. But when he couldn't keep a job, now she's a single mother. And not only does she have me, but she has my two sisters who are older, right? But still, we all living together.
How old was your mom when she had you?
33.
33?
Yep.
Okay.
She was 33 when she had me. She was 18 when she had my first sister.
Okay, okay.
So there's like a big gap between me and my sisters.
All right, so let's fast forward a little bit. Okay, you grew up single parent home. At some point, you ended up meeting your biological father, and then you have a relationship with that side of your family. Um, let's dive a little bit more into um, just your transition in which you begin to discuss in the beginning about discovering these talents that you got and really getting into becoming a content creator. And the way I want to build on it is you have a brand that I feel like needs to continue to just get out to just different spaces of the world. Live your dreams, not your reality. Um, think just even with that and hearing your backstory about your life, there's a reality part to it, but at the same time, you got a dream that you chasing after. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So
Absolutely. Live your dreams, not your reality is a mantra. It became like a way of viewing life because I realized that there were so many people like myself who who really don't like the space they're in. You know what I mean? Like the space we're in, some of us, we come from nothing. And our dreams are so large that we can't see how would we even get there from where we're at. And for me, I was like, I don't know nobody. Like, I'm not famous. I don't know nobody famous. I don't know no actors. I don't even know any writers. So I'm like, how am I going to get out of Norfolk, Virginia and get my gift out to the world? And so I feel like a lot of people, especially like yourself, like you and I, we've talked so much about you starting this podcast and the importance of it. And I said, you got to live your dreams, not your reality. And that means you have to put yourself in the space of where you want to be. It's a kind of like a manifestation, if you will. Because if you focus and say, well, my reality is, I'm a single mom and I'm uneducated and all I got is a diploma, well, now you're working against yourself. I'd rather use that energy to be optimistic and say, well, where do I want to be? Let me focus on that space, and let me live as if I'm already in it. So that's what live your dreams, not your reality really means. It's kind of like a jersey that dreamers wear that are on a mission.
good, good. At what point did you really grasp? Because I feel like before the use of content creator, as if now it's more like people are using it like it's an occupation.
Right.
It's their job title.
Yeah.
I believe when you started, that didn't exist.
Not
Right?
really.
That didn't
Yeah.
exist. We were just out here doing
You
videos,
were a
helping you
YouTuber.
out. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You were a YouTuber. Yeah. In 2012, nobody was really people. A couple select people were doing it, but it was not popular. And it's so crazy how I just kind of started doing it, and you were there. Y'all had never seen me write anything before or put this type of thing together, but when I did, it was kind of as if God Himself awakened me and like, yeah, you can do this. This is in you.
I mean, I always knew that, you was a funny dude. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? You pretty, you're charismatic. Some people out there in the world might want to argue different, but at the end of the day, like
I like what you said.
you're creative, charismatic, the way you think, it shows why you have gotten to the point to where you are right now. You know what I'm saying? And you started here in Virginia, building that. Talk a little bit about that, and even up to the point where you took a leap, and I can remember when you did your show at Funny Bone, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So in 2016, right, we had pretty much did 2 seasons of Hump Day Romance. So by this time, this was our first show we ever really did. My first show ever writing it. Your show ever, because you were one of the producers on it, and you was on camera too. Believe right? Yeah, yeah, for a little bit, right. So I got to a point where I'm like, wow, we're on World Star like a lot. We're on these websites like a lot. They're really paying attention to what we're doing, and that turned into, you know what?
And you know what's great about that?
Well,
It wasn't even like you was trying to fish your content to anybody.
nah,
You were
nah.
just doing your thing,
Yeah.
winging it, and somehow, it caught steam, right?
Right, it did. And that's because YouTube back then gave more organic traffic. As now, it's like you really got to, it's more ad based and things like that. But in 2016, I just remember feeling stagnant, man. Like feeling like there was just a lid on top of what we were doing here. And I was like, yo, bro, I got to do. I was like, first off, we got to do another season of Hump Day Romance. We got to put it together like a real internet show. And it's got to be clean. I want to show people how well we can put something together. And then I was like, I don't want to just post it. I was like, I want to do a live show because I was terrified of being in front of people. And I wanted to challenge myself to be uncomfortable to say, Zeus, stop being a punk. Like,
Where do you think that comes from?
which one, being a punk or the fear?
not the punk. The fear of
The
being
fear.
the fear of being in front of people.
Um,
But you was a drum major.
right. Yeah, I was a drum major, and I was, got a scholarship to go to Norfolk State, and I'm an alpha. I was step master, so I've performed literally in front of thousands of people. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? But I'm out there with other people. It ain't just me. And when you out there in front of a show and you got your name up there, people expect me to be the best version of myself that they want to see. And at the time, I was just like, this is a little bit, I'm nervous, but it made me feel alive. And I was like, okay, I got to do this. And I always know when God is downloading something to me because he's like, yo, Zeus, do that. We put it together, Viz Inc., thanks to y'all because I would not have been able to do that solo dolo. Y'all had the cameras because we filmed it. We had my guy, Quincy Carr, comedian out here, the quality comedy king. And he was on some episodes, so I asked him to host the show at the Funny Bone because he was already a regular there.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yup. And then I had my guy Alex Scott, who's another funny comedian, be on it. My guy J Rod, and they were on the show. And I said, okay, we're gonna show half of the season. I think we did maybe like 8, 9 episodes. We showed half the season, and we had a red carpet, and I was nervous nobody was gonna show up. And it was so packed that the Funny Bone didn't have enough staff.
It was packed.
It was packed. It was packed. You thought we was, giving out free lap dances. It was packed.
Was it just off the strength that your stuff just started to really like move around here in Virginia or what?
What we did was I created a flyer and I went on my social medias and I just went to work. I just was dropping the flyer. I was doing videos to let my fan base know, the followers know, hey y'all, this is what we got going on. You should come pull up. In hindsight, if I was to do it again, which I do want to do that setup again, I would make a live available for the people at home that can't make it to VA so that they can experience the whole, thing as well. You know what I'm saying? So I was nervous, I was scared, but it was the best thing I've ever did. And I feel like my team, we needed that momentum and that energy to see what we were doing. Because when you only look at it from behind the screen, you're looking at the numbers, right? But you're not feeling the energy of the people. So the crowd that was there, I was shocked too. I thought it was just gonna be a black crowd. Far from it, because we got white people on the show, we got different kinds. It was white people there, it was Hispanic people there, Asian, it was gay people there, country people there, and I loved it because everybody wants love. Everybody wants love. You know what I'm saying? And I wanted everybody to be able to get something out of it. And when they did, when everybody was coming out and they was like, I didn't think they were gonna do it, but everybody walked up to me when they walking past and tell me what they thought. And I remember this white couple, they was super sweet. They was kind of like Dan and Roseanne. They was real country. And I love me some Dan and Roseanne. But they was like, hey man, we saw the little thing outside and we didn't know what we were getting ourselves into. But God damn it, you're funny, man. We loved it. Hey, we got a supporter here. And his wife was
porter?
a supporter here.
Supporter.
Yeah, his wife was like, oh yeah, it was so great. Just honest wedding vows. It's so funny. And I was like, God damn it, we got something.
Do you believe at that moment, that year was really living the dream, not your reality?
That year, 2016, I definitely feel like I was living my dreams and not my reality at that point. And I also didn't realize that was an ascension year for me. I was ascending because that same year, I decided right after that show, I'm moving to LA.
Let me ask you this. What was the reality, even though you were on stage living your dream? What was your
Right.
reality and what was life like? I mean, was it rough? Was it a struggle? Were you
Yeah.
working?
Mm-hmm.
What do people don't know about you as far as like outside of content?
Before I started doing the content?
Yeah, like what were you doing?
I was a social worker for Norfolk, Virginia. I've always, even in college, right?
Social worker?
I was a social worker.
Okay.
In a cubicle. A cubicle. And I was wearing these thrift store suits that I would, kind of put together. Sometimes Lord, I hated this job. Let's be clear. I hated this job. And the people I worked with were cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I was the youngest there. It was just the complete opposite of me. So everything is paperwork. Everything is, Zeus, did you do your reports? And I'm working with people to help them get their life together, which I like that part. I remember I worked with a 16-year-old girl who, she was a young mother, and her family just kind of abandoned her. She was in high school trying to graduate, and she had no place to live. She didn't have nothing. So I was able to help her with, get her those things situated. I liked that part. The paperwork, the docking, all that other stuff, I didn't like it, but I didn't have nothing else. And also, this was before I knew what my purpose was. Like I used to be in the car. I'm not even gonna lie. I used to be in the car parking lot at lunch, crying in my car because I hated my job so much, and I felt
Did you feel like why am I here or
I felt like I wasn't gonna become anything. And
really?
yeah, like I felt like, see, sometimes people can tell you you're talented all your life, but you don't know how that talent transitions or correlates into a job or profession. And for many years, I felt like I really didn't have, I didn't know, I didn't, you know what I'm saying? Because here, especially
Hmm.
in Virginia, creativity is not told that you can make it as a profession this way. This is more of an industrial place. I mean, we're getting better now, but this is more, it's more industrial place where it's like, yo, the shipyard and the military, pick one, bro. And I'm like, I don't want to pick either one.
Do you feel in that moment where you say you were in your car crying,
Yeah.
right? Did you feel like
Ugly crying too, like Tyrese type of shit. Like I was really upset because I don't come from wealth. So I knew I didn't have parents or anyone that could just solve my problems like that. And
and was that job that you were doing paying well?
no. So out of 2 weeks, I maybe made like after taxes, maybe like $800 or $900 after 2 weeks, which really isn't much. When you're trying to like, you got a car payment and you got all this other stuff. So but I was thankful for the job. Let me say that. I was thankful because I was being planted and I was placed in that uncomfortable position now in hindsight because I do better when I'm uncomfortable. If it wasn't for the pain that I experienced in life, the world would never even know that I'm alive. So the uncomfortableness, I realized I do better when I feel like the world is against me. So I started writing. I had a really big breakup. I lost my boo. I lost my baby. And when a man lose his thing, and she was a nice PYT too. She was pretty. She kind of looked like Nia Long in Friday.
PYT, pretty young thing.
Pretty young thing. Yeah, she kind of like Nia Long in Friday when she ran past and they was like, hey. She had the same haircut, had the wagon back there and everything. Nice little waist.
Wagon.
Yeah, wagon back there.
Okay.
And so I broke up with her because I was young and I was like, this ain't gonna work. And I was depressed low key. So when I got the job, I'm in this job I hate now. I done lost my woman. I'm depressed.
Did you ever feel, even in the midst of all of that, did you feel like was college in a sense of a waste? Like you go to college to get this degree, but now I'm over here, I'm doing, some social work. Was that even like your degree? Was your degree in
Nah, my
social work?
degree was in mass communication. I
Hmm.
was I had a radio show at Norfolk State at Hot 91 where I went under the name Supreme on the afternoon drive. And I went for mass comm. So I wanted to do mass comm things, but there wasn't that many opportunities here for me here in mass comm. I realized I didn't want to do the radio as a profession because it didn't make enough money. And I was like, okay, I need a job though while I figure it out. So my frat brother, Willie, shout out to Willie, he was working as a social worker and it was an AKA that worked there, Danya, and she helped me get the job. Shout out to Danya. And so I was working there and it ended up being the best thing for me because here's why. In that job, in that cubicle, I started to be so depressed that I started writing down how mad I was about my dating situations and how it was going. I was just so pissed. I was like, why am I meeting these women that's doing this? I don't like it. And I felt like the women I was dealing with, because I'm dating, I just felt like, look, I'm cool with you, but you over here, we can do this, this, and this, but me and you can't do what me and her doing because you don't got the vibe she got. It just everybody had their own separate plan. And that turned into me writing my very first sketch, which is called Stay in Your Lane Insurance, which is a segment in Hump Day Romance that became the most popular. And it's basically where I compare dating to like car insurance type of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And it took off. It took off, like, and it still continues to take off years later, which is a testament to how well we put that together.
So you're a social worker, you're doing content. It wasn't even really content creating back
Now
then.
I
It
was doing
wasn't
YouTube. I was a YouTuber
you was
back. Yeah.
YouTubing. you do this thing at the Funny Bone.
Yeah.
You showcase, these things that you've been writing while being a social
Yeah,
worker,
yeah.
right? What prompted you to make that pivot in the midst of all of that and you say things started to take off?
Right.
You decided to leave.
Right. So, real quick, that's a great question. When I was at social work, right, I remember when God tapped me on the shoulder and told me it was time to go. I was there for 2 years. And when that 2 year mark was starting to come around, I remember that Hump Day Romance, I submitted it to a film festival in LA and it got in. So I ended up taking off 2 weeks to go to work. They let me take off because everybody in the office knew what I was doing anyway. They was watching the videos at this point. So they said, okay, you can go. I went and came back and I'm like, okay, I'm like, okay. I wasn't sure I was gonna leave yet. But
Quit.
I wasn't sure I was gonna quit yet. I was just like, okay. I went to LA. A girl that I had met on Facebook, I could have got chopped up into little pieces, Mike. But this girl, this actress, she saw my content on Facebook and was like, yo, you're really good. Why are you not in LA? And I was like, I don't know nobody. She said, look, I got a guest room. I told her I got into the film festival. She said, if you want to come here for the film festival and stay in the guest room, you're more than welcome.
Complete stranger.
Complete stranger.
And you,
I mean, we talked. Well, we got on the phone and talked before I just flew out there.
yeah,
But she was a stranger. But it was God. It was God because she wasn't a weirdo in any way, shape, or form like that. And I believe her name was Lisa. Shout out to Lisa. And it was great. I come back to my job and I'm like, now I got to make a decision. I'm feeling like, should I step out there, God? But I ain't got no money. I'm broke as a joke. This older woman beside me, we never spoke the whole time I worked there. I worked beside her maybe like almost 2 years. And I remember one day I got into the magazine. It was the first time the magazine did an interview on it and came to the joint and was like, hey, YouTuber, like, cool. The magazine apparently, she received the magazine. So I'm in my cubicle chilling and this woman comes over, older woman, and says, excuse me, is this you? And she opens the magazine and shows, I was like, yes, ma'am, that's me.
what was the name of the you remember the name of the magazine?
Man, I don't remember the name of the magazine, man. It may have been like Virginia Coastal or something like that. I can't remember. I would have to go look back. But I remember her coming over and asking me, and I said, yes, ma'am, that's me. She had read the article, and she looked at me. I'll never forget it. She said, why are you here? I was like, well, I work here. We was in different departments. I was like, I'm in this department. She's like, why are you here? She said, I read this article. You're talented. She said, you don't belong here. And I just didn't, I had nothing to say, like I was just stuck. And then the next day, maybe 2 days later, it was another woman that worked with me named Rose. And Rose, I remember Rose because Rose had a fat butt and I wanted to see what was up with Rose. Rose was fine. She was a little older, but anyway, Rose is my friend.
Rose, where are you, Rose?
Where you at, Rose?
Rose!
I'll be your Jack. So, so Rose had taped a poem on my screen of my desk when I wasn't there. And I come back in my cubicle and it's a poem. And the poem is from an author called Edgar Allan Poe. And the name of the poem was A Dream Deferred. And then that's when I said, okay, it's time for me to go.
How you quit?
I put in my 2 weeks.
Oh, you did it
I did
the
it
regular way.
responsibly. Yeah, because once again, I hated my job. I sucked at my job, but I was great with working with people. And the people I worked with were very supportive, so I liked them as well. They actually, after I left the job, they came to the Funny Bone. I invited them out to the Funny Bone, and they came. So I left my job in 2014. 2 years later, we're at the Funny Bone now, and we're doing the second season of Hump Day Romance. And after I did it, and it was such a success, I said, I want to become a better actor. And the acting schools here, there really aren't really any acting schools here. I did do some training here, what was available, but I said, I'm moving to LA. I'm moving. I was like, I don't got no kids. I'm doing well. You know, I'll figure it out. I'll go. And so God is also funny. 2 weeks before I'm scheduled to leave to go to LA, I get a call that I'm going to be a father.
I was gonna get into that.
Well, we into it now.
I was gonna get
we
into
it now. You know.
Before we get to that part, because that's good to know. Tell me some of the lessons in the midst of getting all of these, I guess, aha moments, the poem, the sign, like what lessons are you learning that it's time to move?
I learned that God, I learned how to hear God's words to me when he does it clearly now. Because after he did that, sent me to LA, he also sent me the same exact clear voice when to move back to Virginia. So I realized that he places me places, and when he's ready for me to leave, he opens up all portals for me to be able to go. Because in 2016, I moved to LA, right? I had been thinking about moving to LA years before that. And I told my mom, I was like, I think I might be, I said, I think I'm gonna have to move to LA one day, but nothing in me said go now.
Hmm.
Nothing. It was, I didn't have the bread, I didn't have any like connections or anybody. I end up through Hump Day Romance, one of our episodes went viral on Facebook, and a manager reached out to me from LA and was like, "Hi, my name is such and such. I'm from Luba Rockland Entertainment, and which is a very big agency out there." She said, "I saw your video. One of my clients shared it on their Facebook, and I want to represent you. Can you really act?" And I said, "Yeah, I can." She said, "Well, can I send you an audition for a new show that Oprah is about to produce? And I want to see, can you audition for it? I want to see where you're at." I said, "Yes, ma'am." And I was like, "What's the name of the show?" She said, "Queen Sugar." I was like, "Okay." I don't think it's going to be a hit, but okay. It's a great show, clearly. But it was dope. And I realized, I was like, wait, I could, wait, God, you found me representation all the way from across the country,
West
from
Coast.
what, from right here in Virginia. That was a door that he opened. And then from there, she was like, "Hey, look, I want you to eventually move out here." And I'm like, "Okay." And then I had a friend named Francelli from Norfolk State University. Shout out to Norfolk State, because the connections are real. The HBCU relationships are real. I said, "I'm moving out there." She had already lived out there. And our sorority sister, and also NSU alumni, Chastity Saunders, who's a talented actress out there. She said, "Zeus, come on out here." So I said, "Okay." I moved out there. Well, before I moved out there, I was getting ready.
Yeah, God
Yeah,
lining it up.
God was just lining things up. And then the wrench of the plan was what you said. 2 weeks before I was scheduled to move, my stuff was packed. I found me an apartment. I was ready to roll. And I got a call that I was going to, things was happening. I was going to be a father.
You remember that you let the dad juice go?
I let the dad juice. I don't remember it. I think I was on an edible, which is why I don't do edibles to this day. I was at a Broccoli Fest concert in DC, and I just feel like, because I'm so responsible. At the time, I'm like, how'd I get to my late 20s? I was about to go into my 30s. I'm like, I ain't never had a pregnancy scare. How they catch me going out the door of 20s? Pow, caught me in my ankle. Ah. So, and so when I got that call that I was going to be a father, that things got more complicated then. Because now
Uncomfortable. You talked about being uncomfortable.
I didn't want to be that uncomfortable. I was gonna be uncomfortable enough just being across the country from my family, because I'm from Norfolk. I went to college in Norfolk, so I never lived away from home. My family didn't do a lot of traveling, so this was the first time my mother being away from me across the country. My mother and I, we very close because I was raised by a single mother. So that experience out in LA made me a man on a different level, because it was like, bro, this is really living your dreams. Because you know how it is here. People here are afraid to risk. They'll talk about their dreams, but they're never gonna pour into it because they're like, well, I don't wanna leave my stability. This job, there's benefits. And I understand, because we have other people to think about. But somebody told me one time, it was like, you can make a living if you focus on your job, but you can make a fortune if you focus on yourself. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I was like, I need to focus and double down on me. With my child being coming now, my child's mother was living like in the DC area, Alexandria, Virginia area. And I'm like, how is this going to work? And so I was very much pressured, damn near tried to be forced to give up my dreams and say, hey, forget everything you're doing. Just be a dad to this baby. Go get a regular ass job. Fuck your dreams type of thing. And I knew that God that's not what he had for me. It just wasn't. It was no way in hell he had opened up all these doors. Because when you come from Norfolk, you know how it is. You from Portsmouth. When you come from the 757, dreams just don't happen like that. This is a very like work, go to sleep, work, go to
Mhm.
sleep type of place.
Yeah, like it's kind of like growing up here. It's like the thing you're gonna do is you gonna graduate from high school
Maybe,
and get it maybe
maybe,
and get a job.
and get a job.
That's
And
it.
if you're a man here, unless you get a job as like, a doctor or attorney or something like that, you're gonna be at the shipyard, or you're gonna
Or
be in the Navy or the grocery store. And then unless you start your own business, those are your only options. So I was like, okay, I said, I'm not gonna give up my dreams. I'm going to do both. I said, I'm gonna be a father and I'm gonna pursue my dreams, and that's what I did.
did knowing that you had a child on the way put you in a different thought process about becoming a man. Was it was this did this even put forth a even stronger drive about getting to your dreams at an even higher level than what you accomplished here in Virginia?
Yeah, it definitely gave me. I already had a very strong drive. Like you know me for a long time. Like you've seen me grow probably more than anyone. You know what I'm saying? So you've seen when I've been given tasks, and even before I was an alpha, you've seen that. So I was terrified because I'm like, I don't know how to be a father because I've never really been fathered. Love my stepdad, my dad. He was always there at my events. He showed love. He gave his paycheck. You know what I'm saying? Like, so he was a great influence for me to see somebody be positive around my mother. But my mother raised me. He didn't interfere with anything, so I was never fathered. So now I got to be a father. Where am I getting these blueprints from? You know what I'm saying?
You do know that there's really no blueprint to parenting when you have a child. You would think there's a book, but every situation is different.
Correct. However, if we were lions and you're a baby cub, you've never seen your dad roar. You're a part of him. You are that. I'm a young boy and I've never seen my father. His DNA, his knuckles, what's his personality, the smell of him. I am a part of that. So a large part of me, I didn't know for many years. And I'm still learning those things now. I'm still in the infancy phase of that. So I'm like, I don't know how to be a dad. I don't know about, and then I'm not with the child's mother. And now she feels some type of way. So now I have to deal with her being upset with me that I'm not doing what she thinks I should do. Even though I told her, I said, listen, I'm I'm going here. I'll make sure I'm gonna send money. I'm gonna make sure I fly back to see my daughter when I did all those things.
Good.
I made sure I did that. But
Do you believe that because of your situation and how things transpired with their father, that it was definitely important for you, regardless of how your daughter came into this world, that was important for you to step in and be there despite how things were panning out with your success and all of that?
I didn't have a choice. I already knew I was gonna be in my child's life. There is no other thing for me. And my child's mother knew that. See, women know when you do it, you have a baby with the guy who ain't gonna be there, who don't care, because he don't have no honor, he don't care, and then the guys who can't live with that. I can't live with that. And she knows that. And that's a good thing because she's held up her bargain, I've held up mine, but it was very difficult. It was just very difficult because now I'm a young man, I don't have a father, I don't know what that looks like. I'm not with the mother. The mother, I'm now across the country, right? I have to find a job here. I don't really have any friends here. So I'm in a new city. I did find a job, of course. So I was like, all right, look, I got a baby on the way. I got to prepare for this. I was 100% depressed because I was away from y'all, my family and friends. God was like, hey, I brought you here for this dream. And I'm like, great. I'm in this expensive ass apartment. My apartment was like $1,500 for a studio. My bed came out the wall. I didn't even know they could do that. It was called a Murphy bed. I don't know who Murphy is or why he made beds come out the wall, but my bed came out the wall. And it was so expensive that I ended up becoming homeless 8 months after being there. You know what I'm saying? So I was going through it out there in 2016. I was going through it out there. You know what I'm saying? But I found a way, thank God, God sent me some guardian angels that kind of helped me get situated out there. And I met a young lady who became a friend and let me stay on her couch. you know, and then later on, you know, we became, you know, in a relationship, and that ended up being beautiful as well. But it's just interesting how God connects these things. And even when I met her, I'm like, I like this person, but I got a baby on the way, and I got to tell her this before we get to liking each other too much. And I did that. And I'll never forget what happened. It was the best thing ever because I sat down and told her what happened. I was like, hey, look, I have a baby on the way. I don't want you to think like I'm one of these irresponsible type dudes that just be having babies. This was really like a one situation. And I just want to let you know I have a baby on the way and I don't want to take your choice. If you don't want to be down with this, I totally understand. And we was in my apartment and she started crying. And she wasn't like a woman who cried a lot. And I was like, well, why are you crying? And she said, because I think you're the one for me. And so, yeah, took me back too. I said, really, baby? Me? You bullshitting.
Me, you,
The one they call Zeus.
yeah.
Rope.
I told you
Top
the
rope.
truth, and now you want to marry me.
Right, which not really. She was crying because she was like, I'm gonna have to let you go type of thing. That was the energy. So you know, we didn't speak for a little while. And then, excuse me, she ends up calling me and was like, hey, I told my mom what happened. I was like, uh-oh. I was like, what happened? She was like, she told her mom that she met a guy, she liked him, but she can't talk to him no more. Mom was like, why? She's like, because he has a son, a daughter on the way. And her mom was like, well, how did you know that he has a daughter on the way? She was like, well, he told me. Her mom said, he didn't have to tell you that. He didn't have to tell you that. He was honest with you. He was like, he could have lied and just hid his child. She was like, no, you should talk to him because he's an honest man. And that's what happened. You know, so
And this is now you're on the West Coast.
I'm on the West Coast.
You went, you out there in Hollywood, you know, grinding, living a dream in a whole nother.
Doing commercials. So Hump Day Romance, of course, I got out there for that. But when I got out there, I kind of stopped doing Hump Day because I didn't have the support system that I had here. So I ended up doing a lot of commercials. So that's when I started doing the, you know, Pizza Hut and all that stuff type of commercials. Like, okay, great. And then I was also working at BuzzFeed. So I was writing videos and doing stuff at BuzzFeed too. So
Tell us a little bit about, like, you know, what is BuzzFeed? Some people out there might not know what
right.
BuzzFeed is.
BuzzFeed is like the third or fourth largest digital network in the world. Basically, it's a big internet, like YouTube site where they have like so many different shows under it. And at the time, my girlfriend was working with BuzzFeed, and she had became a creator there. So she was just learning how to edit and do all this stuff. So I was like, great. I was kind of helping her with those things, and she started giving, you know, helping me get opportunity over there. You know, as a writer, XYZ, sometimes I would work on their channel. I was under the channel Perolike, which is a Spanish channel. So I also got to learn more about my Hispanic roots, you know, because she was Dominican. So I was like, okay. And I started writing videos and things just started taking off. So that was great because I got to learn I learned a lot of creative things of how to create content and these bigger networks. So it was a really good education for me.
What do you think what's different about being here in Virginia and then going there uh, and trying to, I guess, in so many words, duplicate what you were doing here in a different way?
I didn't realize how tough it was to do it by myself. I didn't realize that. And it was more difficult out there because LA is very cliquey. So if you don't know anybody, people don't really rock with you out there. You know what I'm saying? And at the time, it was really my fault because I feel like I had kind of an attitude like, man, I don't want to work with the black creators, man. That's on some ghetto type stuff. You know what I'm saying? My mind frame, I was just like, I'm just going to do my own thing out here. And in hindsight, that was the wrong attitude to have because you get further when you're working with the collective and those relationships. And I later on created some of those relationships with those people, but I feel like I could have been further had I not had that attitude.
Where do you think that attitude came from?
Probably the early success that we had with Hump Day Romance and me at the time, I guess trying to figure out my part of the portion, like making sure I'm creating episodes and stuff. I didn't realize that these other people doing these things are really, really helping. You know, one person who was really, really instrumental was a guy named Tremaine. You know, and Tremaine was you know, one of the owners of Visually Inclined, and he probably was one of the most active there because it was a piece we poured into this show. And when you don't have somebody like that, I didn't realize the value of having somebody that wants to produce that same excitement that I have, he had. So it was hard to find it out in LA. And eventually, I started to find those type of things. I started working with a guy named Big Job, my homie, G Wayne, different creators out there, whatever, Minx. But yeah, my attitude was kind of sucky a little bit, and I had to kind of like
Are you
humble myself.
so humble? Okay, so did you feel that you kind of unbeknownst to you, do you feel like you developed some level of arrogance
Yeah, I mean,
selfish? What?
I think it was a combination of like, maybe. Sometimes I think at that time I was a little bit unaware of myself because I wasn't trying to, I was just trying to keep the motion going. You know what I'm saying? I was just trying to keep the motion going, whatever that was. Because mind you, this is the first time I'm doing this shit. I ain't never did a TV show before. I ain't never acted or wrote anything. I never even been in a class at that time.
But you told that person to say, "Can I represent you?" You was like, "Yo, I can act."
Well, yeah,
It was just you felt like, "Yeah, I can do it."
because I wasn't taught, right? But it was in me. Some things, like some kids, you could just give a basketball to. You like, where'd you learn that? Like, I don't know. It's just in me. Some people can sing and it's like that. So it, I had to get. I felt like I was arrogant a little bit, and I didn't know it. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know it.
Self-awareness.
Self-awareness, absolutely. And at the time, Viz Inc., was starting to decimate. Everybody was starting to do their own things anyway. So I felt like the energy of the show, people just wasn't interested in no more. And I was like, I still feel like this is important and it's something. So I just kind of tried to keep it going. And even before BuzzFeed, right? My first job in LA, I worked at a studio where I was the janitor. I was the producer of the shows. I was on a show. I was the editor of the show. I was everything but security. I would help move the set stuff. And there was this lady named Susan, and older white lady named Susan, and she owned the company. And she was like, "Okay, you can work here." And it was paying me, but she was like, "I need you to kind of do everything." And I'm like, "Look, I got a baby on the way. I ain't got no job, and this is in TV studio." I'm like, "Cool." And that, even though I was doing all that stuff, they helped me put together a sizzle reel for Hump Day Romance because I was like, I write. And she was like, "Really?" And I showed her the show, and she liked it. And then she also paid for me to go to a writing class at UCB, which is like, that is the writing school that people that go to Saturday Night Live, they go there to learn how to be writers for like Saturday Night Live, TV, stuff like that. And she wrote me a check right then and there. She's like, "How much is the class?" I was like, such and such amount of money. She's like, "Oh, here, go to your writing class." Thank you, Susan. And I just, it was a blessing. So I did that, and I needed that experience to be like, "All right, Zeus, how bad do you want this? Driving all around Cali through that LA traffic, you better really want it." But then I started booking commercials like 2, 3 in a day because I took a commercial class. Best commercial class in LA was a guy named Killian. Nice gay guy, white gay guy, had his black gay boyfriend. They invited all the students to their annual Christmas party. I went, had a good time, no Diddy, and it was cool. And I learned a lot about commercials, and then I became a beast. I was like, oh, now I know what I'm doing in the room. So that was dope. And yeah.
Mm. Now, when you're living outside of LA, and let's just say back here at home, there's always these stories about people move there. It's rough. It's a grind. It's all these things that like you really got to get it out the mud. I mean, you got any? Is was that your story while there?
Yeah, like I said, 8 months after moving there in my apartment, I was homeless because a young lady I was dealing with back home, she basically was trying to get me kicked out of my spot, lover scorn sort of thing. And so my landlord, we were just talking. I'm like, "Look, I don't mean to cause y'all any of this. I'm paying the rent," and she's like, she's not there, but she's calling, just making all kind of trouble. So I was like, "Look, this rent here is expensive anyway. I'm gonna go find somewhere a little bit cheaper." And so I ended up doing that. But when I did that, the place didn't work out, and I ended up being homeless for a little bit. But like I said, God provides. So that was tough because I went there with stuff in suitcases. Next thing I know, my stuff in trash bags. But, we from the 757, we built tough. I'm an alpha man. Everywhere I go, got blue skies. So that happened. Money was always a struggle because LA is so expensive. People were living on couches. I lived on couch. Like my frat brother had a studio apartment in Koreatown. I was sleeping on his futon. You know what I'm saying? Like just trying to figure it out. And when you're doing that, bro, it really it can break your spirit as a man if you let it. You know what I'm saying? And I knew people who were Instagram models. Them fine things that you see out there, stay on somebody's couch. And girls that you see in TV, I was befriending and meeting, they were in domestic abuse situations with these guys on TV that everybody looks up to.
So on the surface, if you're looking at the internet, they look like they in this high life, but in reality,
Yeah, it's BS. It's all an illusion. A lot of it is smoke and mirrors. Not to say that some people aren't doing what they say they're doing. Yeah, some people are. And there are good people there that you can meet. But Hollywood is very small. LA is big, but Hollywood is very small. And then Black Hollywood is even smaller. So I was lucky enough to meet some one or two mentors that was really cool that brought me in different spaces that I've never been. Shout out to Lolita Files, who's a phenomenal best-selling author, also AKA sister. And I met her, and she kind of put me under her wing a little bit and kind of gave me some game because her books have become movies, and people like Kanye was buying her movie scripts, and she was just breaking down to me, Zeus, this is what you got to do to survive out here and these things. So she was just that beautiful feminine energy kind of mentor type of thing that I needed. So yo, shout out to Lolita Files, always peace and love. But it was hard as hell out there. But here's the thing people don't talk about. My father wasn't calling me out there. I'm a new father. I now have a girlfriend, and I also have a child's mother in which I have to work with in a cohesive unit as well, who's giving me all kind of hell because she's upset about the situation, but she's a great mom. But she's upset with me though. So it's like I don't have no man calling me, "Hey, how you doing, son? How you how you doing with this situation?" My mother used to call me, and I was thankful for that. Sometimes my cousins would call me, and then my line brothers, they took like 3 trips to come see me the first year because they knew I was just depressed. Cause I'm like, yo, I got a lot going on. It was like, Zeus, you're gonna be all right. And that's where I feel like I appreciated being a part of my fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha, especially being from Norfolk State, because we have a really tight niche. Like Norfolk State, HBCUs in general, we really love each other. Like even if we had beef back in the day, it's like once we got out into this real world, we realized that damn, this space at this HBCU was some of my sweetest memories. Some of my best friendships come from here. People get married from here, and I just didn't realize how special that was until I left. But it was really, really hard. I remember days where like it got so bad, man. I was on food stamps out there for sure. And at one point, me and my lady was kind of like, we were living under the same roof, and I didn't have my money situation together because I'm paying for child support, and I don't know how child support works, so I'm just sending money. I probably, sending more than I should send, whatever. I just wanted to make sure everything was fine, and I'll deal with what's left. I was driving maybe like 100 miles to go to work sometimes. And then when I didn't have that job, I would go to the library and be trying to find jobs. But when you're somebody who has a lady and you have a father and you like, damn, man, I can't even, I'm trying to get myself together. I didn't feel like a man. I felt kind of like less than. And when you don't feel like a man because you can't take care of yourself, you feel ashamed that you don't know how to take care of you or the people you're responsible for. And then that's when it hit me out there. I said, whoa, I've never been fathered. Like no one's even taught me how to do anything. You know what I'm saying? Like how to balance a checkbook. What is a mortgage? How to live with a woman cohesively. The type of things that I should be doing. I ain't know none of that. I had to get it out the mud and learn the hard way. And those lessons came with some bumps and bruises.
I'm glad you kind of brought this up because I did want to segue to just how is it, as you're evolving and becoming a better man, and when it boils down to it, you've had a few relationships in this entire journey. let's just talk about that a little bit. Like trying to manage that in the midst of trying to chase a dream
Hmm.
and being a dad, trying to step it up because you have a daughter, right?
Yes, sir.
Like how has juggling a relationship or relationships been?
Hard. Pause. Hard. It's hard. Sit on it, spin on it.
Flag
Pause.
flag on the
Hard.
play.
Flag on the play. It's just hard. It's hard, especially when you love the person that you're with. So I really loved the person that I was with, and she really loved me as well. What happened was we gave each other the education. You know what I mean? This was the first time either one of us had lived with each other, and what I realized was I had never been with a woman before that I actually liked as much as she liked me. I take that back. I had been, but not that many times prior, and not in this adult space because we're not in college no more. Now we're in real adult life. So I felt bad, like I say, that sometimes I didn't have a rent, I didn't have those things, and then I realized, like, damn, when she met me, she looked at me like Superman. I had the S on the chest. Now I'm going through my man training, right? So now I'm getting kind of low with it, and I don't look like Superman like that no more. And she tried very much, to help and all those different things. But my scenario, when it's two people in a relationship, it's two lives, and one life, if you don't have your stuff together, it can weigh down on the other. Now, can they pick each other up? Yeah, you can. But when eventually you gotta help yourself. And for me, I think I just became kind of like sorry for myself. I was kind of starting to get in victim mode a little bit, and nothing makes vagina more drier than when a man looks like he has no ambition or fight left in him. It just makes it very dry.
And you reached that point.
Yes, we had reached that point, and I realized I was like, I've been more involved in my relationship trying to keep this afloat versus making sure my money is straight and making sure that I get the hang of this dad thing. Because the dad thing was also bringing, not the dad, the baby was fine, but it was the co parenting. Co parenting is a situation where it takes a while to learn how to do it. Some people never master it. It just depends on if both people want to do it. But that was stressing me out so much to the point where I was losing weight. Like I would be so stressed, I couldn't eat. If it wasn't from arguing with my child's mom, over certain things that we just both were young and didn't understand how to maneuver. And then my actual lady, of course, she's a woman, so she began to get a little bit jealous from that situation, you know. So it just became hard to juggle. And in the midst between trying to balance with these two women, and I have myself that I'm not, and I don't have a father or a father figure calling me, giving me advice on these things.
In hindsight, do you believe that probably being in a relationship was a good step at that particular point in your life?
Hmm. It was, because if I didn't have that relationship, we became real best friends because she lived on the East Coast too. Not in Virginia, but she was from the East Coast. So she was far away from her family as well. And it wasn't until we met that we both felt like home to each other. So we kind of like helped raise each other a little bit, you know what I mean? And if it wasn't for having that companionship, I don't know if LA would have been as a good of a time as it was, or maybe one of us would have moved back. I don't know, you know what I mean? But it was definitely, it was definitely needed. I needed somebody like that I felt like I could trust, that I had love for, that had love for me, to be in that space. Because LA is a lonely place. Hollywood's very lonely. The only place that's lonelier than Hollywood is the moon.
Mm.
It's something I used to say all the time. Is the loneliest place in Hollywood. Lonelier than that is the moon. Because people don't care about who you are. It's like in Virginia, he's like, yo, I'm Mike, I'm Zeus. Hey, what's up? And then we just start rapping. LA is not like that. It's, what do you do? Oh, you do? Oh, you do this? I need to know how I can use you. So you can tell me what you do so I can see if I can gain something from you. That's the energy.
Wow,
Yeah.
crazy. Man, I guess going through all of that, you talked about how God opens up doors and he always gives you a clear sign on when to move.
Hmm.
You made a transition back to Virginia.
Yeah.
Um, you've had success here in Virginia. You had success out there in LA. Like I said, we really didn't get on it, but being out in LA, you ended up on a short film where
Yeah.
this particular film went to a festival and won an Oscar.
Hmm.
Because of that, you ended up going back to your alma mater and even speaking and pouring into these young kids that are growing up today.
Yeah,
Um,
you was at that event.
yeah, yeah,
That's a good
yeah, I
event.
was. That's why I'm talking about it right now.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm proud of you, man. And I will say that you not giving up. Some people would go away, have their experience, and then
Fade
has
to black.
has coming home in a sense, or people that may come home, they might just like chalk it up, but you still getting it in.
Hmm.
And I know you've been working. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I know there's
You too.
some
Yeah.
success
Right.
that people don't know about that's under the radar, and you'll let that out the bag whenever
Oh
that's
yeah, yeah, yeah,
whenever
yeah.
that's needed.
Right, right, right.
But I think it's important, and I think just from watching you continue to grind and go, it's motivating. I believe at the end of the day, you know, as you continue to elevate and have more opportunities, um, beyond this story that we're learning about you today,
Hmm.
is gonna be more to give, you know what I'm saying, in itself. And I think it's good for people here, especially people from Norfolk,
Right.
that don't believe that there's nothing
Norfolk
outside of
outside of
Norfolk, you know what I'm
757.
saying?
Yeah,
You know,
it's a lot. It
how
is.
has it been, with the lessons you've learned and what you're doing now, and seeing what the dream can be, even though, you're here at home base, but you're still getting out, traveling and doing things, and other opportunities are opening for you.
Yeah.
How you
How
handling
does
that
it
now?
feel? How does it feel to be back in Virginia?
Yeah.
Um, I moved when I moved back to Virginia during the pandemic, and originally I just came back to visit because I hadn't seen my mom, I hadn't seen y'all. I was like, I feel like I don't even know my family anymore. So I came back, but before I came back, I broke up out of my relationship because I felt like I was holding my person back and I needed to get my shit together as a man. I was like, listen, I need to, I can't blame my parents anymore about what I don't know financially. I need to make myself financially literate. I need to study. I need to get closer to my daughter. So I need to move closer there because now she's at the age where she's starting to realize, hey, daddy's not there all the time. So I said, okay, this is where God did it for me again, right? Originally, anytime before this time, I would have felt like moving back to VA would have been a death sentence. I'm not even gonna lie. I love VA. Two up, two down.
But
But
I know what you're
it's
talking
some
about.
stagnant ass energy here. It's such a place where people will be like, yeah, I want to do this and I want to do that. And then you say, all right, cool, let's do it. Oh, I got to go to work and then I got to do this and I got to do that and I can't do it. Then shut the hell up about it and do not waste my time because I don't got time for this fraudulent activity of a dream. And I'm not saying it like we're not going to have our challenges, but a crackhead wakes up every day with one thing on their mind.
Crack.
Thank you. And I've never heard a crackhead say, I don't have no money for crack today.
They find that money. Nickel,
Don't, thank you.
a
So what is the,
dollar.
thank you. What is the moral of this story? Don't let a crackhead outwork us for what we want. You feel what I'm saying? So when I came back, I'm not gonna lie, I was not the way I am now. I was 100% depressed. And here's why. I felt like it was over for me. I didn't know what this COVID thing was gonna be. And I was like, well, I'm an actor. All this Hollywood has shut down. Now, thankfully, I was doing, I still had a job on the ID channel where I was narrator of a show called Homicide Cities, which I believe is still on the ID channel now. Homicide Cities Philly and Homicide Cities Charlotte. I'm the narrator for those shows. Make sure you check them out. But I was depressed because now I'm leaving an apartment, my own, with a pool outside, my own parking space, and now I'm back in my parents' house.
Mm.
Bruh, I just got done winning, being a part of an Oscar winning cast.
Have you ever had the thought? Sorry to cut you off. Have you ever had the thought? When I leave my parents' house, I'm never going back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, because as a man, it's not, women can do that, but as a man, it's not sexy to live at
It's
home with
not.
your parents.
No, it's
You know,
not.
even if you paying rent, even if you could damn near be paying all the mortgages up there. It's just something about, the new vagina that you want to be around under the same roof as the original vagina that you came out of. It's just something about that that just does not
It just
mix.
it don't mix.
Under the same
It's
roof, it
like grease
doesn't.
and water.
Exactly. So I'm depressed, but what happened was, coincidentally, this is how God does it, right? God said, Zeus, go back home. And I didn't feel bad about it. I felt like, okay, this is going to be good. I said, I'll travel and do what I need to do. I'll figure out this while we do this COVID thing. So I moved back home, and a friend of mine, he had a house that was just sitting there. And he was like, yo, bro, I'm actually moving back from Florida to Virginia. It's a 4-bedroom house. We can share it. I said, cool. So I ended up moving in there. And like I said, I was depressed. Like, I think I sat on his couch for maybe 6 months straight and didn't move. And I know this because to this day, he tells me I put a dent in his couch, and to the point where he's like, yo, Zeus, you gotta go upstairs to one of the rooms, man, and sleep, bro. Because I was just,
Docile.
I was out of it. One, I was depressed that I had to break up with my best friend. Two, I was depressed because now, I felt distant from my child, and I felt guilty from that, even though I had been traveling back and forth and sending money. And then I didn't know my parents. And we were kind of bumping heads a little bit because Hollywood, when you come back, I was a little bit, like, y'all need to do this. Like, I was a little bit arrogant, like you were saying, you know what I'm saying? But also my parents, they were having, their own challenges in their life. So I was like, dang, man, I don't, me and my parents are bumping heads. I feel like we don't even know anymore. I just felt alone, very alone. And I stopped doing content for maybe like a year or two. I just didn't do anything. And my following was like, yo, where you at? And I was like, if I make videos right now, I think I'm either gonna be angry or sad. And I don't want to put the wrong energy out into the world just to be like, I'm doing videos. I love my following too much to put out messages that are truly malicious. I be funny and I play around. I'm sarcastic. I'm gonna hit you with the headline, but then I'm gonna explain it. But I just didn't want to put out negative energy. In hindsight, I probably wish I would have did that because not everybody's happy all the time, and sometimes people appreciate when you're being like just real about whatever it is you're going through. So I became private armed security. I went from Hollywood doing that to my friend was like, hey, look, I own a private armed security business. Like, you can get down with me on that. I ended up doing private armed security for a while, and I'm in like dangerous situations. I got a vest on. I'm doing private armed security for like underground casino games that ain't even supposed to be going on. That I'm seeing all kind of stuff, people getting guns pulled out on them, guys and women and all kinds of stuff. Thousands of dollars coming in and coming out. I'm just like, God, what part of the plan is this? What's up? And I felt like it was over for me. But in that time, I got closer to God. I got my paper up. I started to educate myself on financial literacy, on things I didn't know about. And I stayed kind of away from the world, kind of like a monk. I went kind of monk mode for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason why I was able to be where I'm at now, which I'm filming a new season of Hump Day Romance. My following has just tripled because I've been doing so many different styles of content.
Yeah, I seen your Instagram had like 44,000. Your YouTube is at what now?
YouTube's at like 56,000. My TikTok grew to 100,000 in less than a year. And then my Facebook now is like almost at 200,000. And that grew, I gained 100,000 followers in 90 days of this year. So like my Facebook has just grown tremendously. So it's like people are now starting to find me, starting to find, what it is that we do. And I love it, man. Because at the end of the day, I feel like my purpose is to make people laugh and feel things. When it comes to relationships, we're all so mad at each other now that I think we need more laughter in the bedroom where we can kind of like laugh at the silly stuff that we be doing. And I'm that type of person that can kind of bring that perspective there. And I didn't realize how valuable that is to people because we've had people from the BBC reach out all the way in the UK reach out from one of our episodes because it caused so much ruckus. When we did the "Where the fuck is your hair" video, right? That video was crazy. And they, because I was talking about natural hair, but it was a situation where I was in a relationship with my girlfriend, and she just chopped her hair off and just showed it to my house one day and didn't tell me she chopped her hair off. And I just, I did a song parody where, we parodied the Chris Brown joint, and it's just people like the funny but true aspect. And people thought I was dissing natural hair, but I wasn't. I was saying, you don't show up to your man's house after you done chopped your hair off and don't tell him nothing. It was that. So anyway, I was on hair blogs like, this ignorant black man, deaf to this top rope. People was not feeling me when I first came out because they didn't understand my sarcasm or my style. But I didn't care because I was like, well, there's intelligent people out there. They'll watch the whole thing and then they'll be able to see, oh wow, this guy is actually coming from just his own point of view, where it may seem like he's being serious, but some stuff he's just really making light of serious things.
What do you think is the overall lesson in this entire journey at this point, being the man that you are now?
It's a lot of lessons, man. I'm not even anywhere near my finish line. So it's like the lessons are continuous. But I can tell you the lessons that I'm currently sitting with now. Patience. I am very young, and we live in a microwave society where we want everything like right now, and oftentimes I don't have enough. So patience and gratitude. Gratitude for how much progress that I'm making, because a lot of times we look on the internet and we compare our happiness or our progress to other people. And the biggest thief of joy is comparison. So I realized, Zeus, stop trying to make everything perfect. Just do it. You'll build it and perfect it as you go. Put your all into it, invest in yourself, and just do what you can. Get help. Work with other people. I can't do it alone. It's better when it's inclusive. Also, invest. Don't just expect people to do favors for you, bro. If you can do something for them and you do the barter system, that's great. But look, listen, people got families, people got time. Get a job, a side job, whatever I got to do, and make sure I compensate and just keep working my way, and it'll be fine. So right now, I'm just writing my ass off. Every time I talk to him, like, yo, I got some more stuff, and I'm filming, and I'm just putting more out there in the universe. So I'm like, listen, I want to do like 100 videos this year, probably more, because it's the work that we're missing. The dream is great. God, you can pray. But if I pray and you pray, well, what's the differentiation between us? Who doing the work? Who doing the work? So I'm like, okay, let's do the work. That's why whenever you got something going on, Mike, you already know you just got to tell me when and where so I can be available.
What's the most responsible thing you've done over these years, journeys, ups and downs, becoming a dad?
The most responsible thing. Probably be a good manager of myself. I don't do reckless things. I don't go out and drink. I don't, I'm not chasing a bunch of stuff. I'm very responsible with my funds because I want to make sure I can handle my responsibilities. So I think the most responsible thing that I did was probably move back to Virginia and make sure I'm a father to my daughter, because she's the most important thing that I've created that I cannot fail at. And it's a way to do both. So right now, I'm a dad. When I'm not dadding, I go and I film. So if I'm not here, I'll go to Atlanta and I'm filming with creators there. I'll go to LA, I'll film there, and I'll come back and I'll just kind of keep that going, because enough of that, something's gonna happen. And I do have something coming up. I know you want to really talk about it too much, but
Yeah.
I'm on it's a TV show that is coming out this year. Maybe the beginning of the summer, maybe the fall. I don't know just yet, but I think right now it's supposed to be a summer layout. But yeah, I'm gonna be on a show on NBC, Peacock Network. I ain't gonna say the name of the show, but I'm gonna be on the show.
Yeah, let's keep that on the hush.
And I'm excited by it because when the opportunity came forth, I wasn't gonna do it. But this is another testament to God, because remember, I moved back to VA, so I'm thinking I'm never gonna have another opportunity ever, right? But not only when I came back did I get called for Wildin' Out. I did a season of Wildin' Out in like 2022.
I forgot to mention Wildin' Out.
Yeah, I did a season of Wildin' Out. We shot for 2 weeks, and what Wildin' Out was doing was they was like, hey, we because of the COVID, we're not doing audience anymore. We want creators act to come on the show, and y'all are gonna play the games with the actual cast, and it's all gonna be all together. I was like, great, cool. And when I got there, it wasn't that. They had us more like in an audience atmosphere type of thing. We still got camera time and all the other stuff, and they also had the cast. So they had like, you know how to do the drive-in movies?
Mm-hmm.
They had us sitting in the car. So if you see me, I'm on that episode. I got "Live Your Dreams, Not Your Reality" on my shirt, or Virginia 64, and that experience was great too. I was disappointed because what was said to me was not what was fulfilled, and a lot of us were. A lot of us were promised things that didn't happen. But the first day I started filming, after a whole full day, and mind you, I love Wildin' Out, a big fan, you know. But after the first day of filming, I got my hotel room. I get a call that said my sister just died, and I got 2 more weeks to be here. And my oldest sister, the person who like a second mom, she just died. So now I got to sit here, be funny for the next 2 weeks, and deal with that on me. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. It's never gonna end. It's always gonna be something. So one thing that helped me with that is something I learned in college from the alphas, from being an alpha. Being an alpha in Norfolk State, Epsilon Pi, taught me how to carry a burden secretly without anyone knowing. I'm good at carrying burdens. I'm great at carrying burdens. Even before I came in here with you, just to be transparent, I told you I just got a call today that my grandmother is about to die. You know what I'm saying? And they're about to pull the plug on her. I got to go to Florida tomorrow. Of course, I'm still here at the interview. And I still, you know what I'm saying? Because it's always going to be something. And, you know, I've realized that everything that happens to me is opportunity for me to take my pain and turn it to purpose for others.
I think that's great. And you mentioned this, and I want to end here. And you mentioned earlier about your biological father
Mm-hmm.
and carrying pain and how you dealt with that. And you were able to reconcile,
Yeah, yeah.
and do what you can at this point in life.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean to you now, given that you're able to do what you can with that? And I even hope your dad gets the opportunity to meet his granddaughter.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. I would love to do that. So right now, my father has dementia, and he can't work. He's had, a lot of things happen to him. He used to be in the military, and he just had a lot of things happen to him. So he has dementia now in Florida, and I told myself that I need to go down there and visit him more. I need to spend time with him more because he's not a bad man. And when you don't know your father or your mother, you have these misconceptions of them because you don't know them. But everybody in my family was like, listen, he's not a bad man. He was just a man who couldn't get his things together. He had demons with the bottle from his past, traumas passed on to him. And, he's told me that he's loved me. I've told him that I loved him. I saw him for my birthday last year. I'm gonna go visit him this weekend. So I realized that I now am ready to really, really be there for him in his however long he has left. You know what I'm saying? I want to be there with him. I want to have those memories. I'm not mad no more. And I understand that as a man, no one's perfect. And we're literally doing the best we know how to do. And because he wasn't around, I don't smoke cigarettes. I'm not a heavy drinker. I've never done a hard drug in my life. Maybe those things would have been different if I would have been around different environments. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's beautiful that I get to hug him now. And I say, listen, your baby boy did all right. Mama did all right. I'm not mad at you. I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad we're here in this space. So it's forgiveness, man. Mm-hmm. I'm in a beautiful space of forgiveness.
Hey, man, I think we can conclude right there.
Yeah.
I appreciate you, coming on the podcast, telling me a little bit about your life, and so that people can learn a little bit more of you outside of the content that you will eventually probably come across on the internet world that we have today, man. So congratulations on all your success.
Congratulations on this podcast too, man. Your first episode. Thank you for letting me be the first episode.
I appreciate it, man. I think people are really gonna learn some lessons, not just from this podcast, but from you and the guests, and the challenge of becoming a man, and the lessons that you get from that, and how it really matures you in a way to make better decisions in life. And your story, I learned that from you.
I appreciate that, brother.
Yes, sir, man.
I need one of them responsible manhood T-shirts too.
I got you, man. I
I,
got hoodies, t-shirts, you know what I'm saying? The merch is coming. I
okay.
got samples, you know, I'm messing with right now. So to
I got to get you some
conclude,
live your dreams, bro. I mean, I know you got some
yeah,
now, but
yeah,
I got
yeah,
to give you
yeah,
more
yeah,
so
yeah,
we can.
yeah, yeah.
I want
We
you to run
got
it.
we got your hats
There
here,
you go.
you
There
know
you
what I'm
go.
saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So y'all make sure y'all check out Top Rope Zeus on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Go to his website as well. And thank you. More episodes to come on Becoming a Man.